Page 259, Jesus saves. Page 259. We have heard the joyful sound. Jesus saves, Jesus saves. Spread the tidings all around. Jesus saves, Jesus saves. Bear the news to every land. Climb the steeps and cross the waves. Onward 'tis our Lord's command. Jesus saves, Jesus saves. On the last, give the winds a mighty voice. Jesus saves, Jesus saves. Let the nations now rejoice. Jesus saves, Jesus saves. Shout salvation full and free. Highest hills and deepest caves. This our song of victory. Jesus saves, Jesus saves.
Amen. You may be seated. Children, you may be dismissed. And go with Miss Jackie and Miss Heather. And teenagers, you may be dismissed. All right. It's a lot of noise for so few children. It's about 500, sounds like about 500 children exiting the church. And it's my little girl. So, hope everybody's had a good week so far. And this time change, I mean, it's like 5 o'clock, and I'm ready to go to bed. And I mean, moved church to 4 o'clock, but anyway, I think, isn't this the last year they're doing this? I think they passed the law, though, finally. I think they did pass the law. It hasn't? It's passed the House, hasn't passed the Senate. And once it passes the Senate, then the President has to sign off on it. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, good to see everybody here tonight. Let's do prayer requests. We'll do prayer requests. My grandmother's funeral is Saturday at 11. And my grandmother, she passed away Sunday morning. And the funeral is going to be Saturday. So I haven't personally put anything on social media yet because there's still some family that are trying to get in touch with, and I wanted to make sure that all the family got contacted. And I didn't talk about it last week on live stream, at least Sunday morning I did, because some of the families still hadn't heard. But she did pass away Sunday morning. So the service will be Saturday at 11. So if you'll pray, my dad will be preaching. I know it's going to be tough on my dad. And so if you'll pray for him, I know that he'd appreciate that. Also pray for Brother Fleming. He texted me at like 5:30, and he was just getting off work, but then he has to be back at work at 1 o'clock in the morning. So keep him in your prayers. I know that he would appreciate that. Pray for Brother Duffy. He had the procedure today, and that's why he's not here tonight. And so keep him in your prayers. Also, last night, Miss Yada had to bring William to the emergency room. He was not doing well, and they brought him to Ochsner's this morning. And everything seems to be okay. And he was really dizzy. And so keep him in your prayers that he'll have no more spells like that. Yeah, dizzy spell, lightheaded. And so pray for William. Good to see Brother Miss Fleming here tonight. Pray for Justice. And they had a good trip there with him. And good to see the Albros make it back. And so continue to pray for Justice while he's there. And I know that family would appreciate it. He gets to come home for Christmas. And then he'll go back. And then he comes back in January. So keep him in your prayers. I know he would appreciate that. There's a young man named Matthew Fuller who some of our teenagers know. He's a good young man, and pray for him. He's I want him to come work with us on the weekends as he's in ministry school, and I want him to come work with us on the weekends. So pray that as a intern, just to kind of get him used to working in the church. So pray that his college will let him do that. I'm pretty sure they will, but just pray that he'll continue to get the green light on that. He wouldn't come. He was going to come one weekend in December, and then he'll come back and start coming every weekend in January. And Jonathan, you know Matthew Fuller, don't you? He's a good young man, and I know Quitman knows him, and Justice knows him from Smite Camp. So pray about that. Pray for him. Also, the building. We still haven't got the permit yet, but things are moving along, and it is just one thing on to the next. So pray. I have gotten back several prices on the building material. Brother Jonathan's got prices on new hymn books, so he's waiting on a bid now on new chairs, and so we are gonna switch to hymn books and go to the North Valley hymn books, and they're really good, and y'all will like them. They're different than what these are, right, Jonathan? They have different songs in it. It's a lot of the same songs, and so but you'll like the hymn book. It's really good, and so anyway. All right, any other prayer requests? Yes, Miss Sandra? Yeah, Miss Amy? Goodness. Yeah. We'll be praying for her. Miss Sheree? All right. Miss Gwen? So be praying for those traveling on the interstate. Yeah. Miss Sydney? Yeah, pray for Noah. Brother Tom?
I've got some problems with some of my teeth and extensive dental work required, a couple of root canals, a couple of oats, extractions. So I may be out a couple of days.
I've got a pair of pliers.
Huh? No.
I've got a pair of pliers.
Go get them. Save me about $10,000. Go get them.
We'll pray for Tom. Pray for his teeth. Pray for his knees too. Yeah, pray for Doug. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Miss Gigi? Y'all see Miss Heather? Tell her happy birthday. Today's her birthday. Miss Heather?
We beat you to it.
Good. Shannon? All right. Pray for Miss Kay as well. Is y'all, Brother Yarbrough? Hmm. Hmm. Pray for Brother Yarbrough's brother-in-law. It's not doing good, and so keep him in your prayers for physically. All right. Any other prayer requests? Shannon? Yeah, so my brother will not be able to come home, but pray for Israel. So, yeah, he won't. Earliest they could get him home is next week sometime, and they'd have to move the ship, and he's not going to make it. So, he won't make it. Yeah, yeah. So, he's on that. Caleb is stationed on a ship that is in the Red Sea. The ship that has been shooting down the missiles and the drones, that's a ship Caleb's on. So, yeah, he's in the Marines, but he's with some guys from the Navy. There's some guys in the Navy that he's with. So that's why he won't be here. We did get to FaceTime him the other day, though, which was good. All right, let's go ahead and pray. Dear Lord, I do thank you for this day that you've given to us. Lord, I do thank you for the opportunity, Lord, to be at church tonight. And Lord, I know there's quite a few people out sick tonight. And Lord, I think about Sister Nancy, Lord, with their grandbaby Grace, Lord, who's got the flu. Lord, I do pray that you'll Lord, I pray that Miss Nancy and Brother Eddie didn't get it. Lord, just be with him. And Lord, I pray for Brother Duffy. Lord, I know he's not feeling well tonight. Lord, just help him, Lord. And I do pray for the results, Lord, of this procedure that was done, Lord, to be good. Lord, I pray you'll be with him tonight. Lord, I do pray for Brother Mike Bollinger, who's home sick tonight. Lord, I pray that you'll just be with him. And Lord, I pray that he'll get well quickly. Lord, I do pray that, Lord, you just help him, Lord, to get well soon. And Lord, I do pray that you'll be with Deanna, Lord, in her health, and also for Ricky, Lord, in his health also. And Lord, I think about Miss Lindsay, Lord, and her lung issue. And Lord, I pray that you'll just help her tonight. And Lord, I do pray for Brother Jimmy and his family. Lord, I know he's been working a lot and not being able to be at church. But Lord, I do pray that you will, Lord, just be with him and Lord, and just do a work there in his family's life. And Lord, I do pray for Brother Gary. And Lord, I pray for Miss Kay, Lord, and her health. And Lord, I do pray for Brother Tom, Lord, with the teeth issue, Lord, and these root canals and these things that Tom has to have done. Lord, I pray that just help him. Lord, teeth and ears and backs, Lord, can be, Lord, a lot of pain. And Lord, I pray that just help him. And Lord, I do pray for Brother Doug. Lord, as my wish is the same as Tom's, Lord, about Doug getting in church. Lord, I pray that just be with him, be with his eyes. Lord, I also pray for Tom's knees. Lord, I do pray for Miss Sandra's knees and Lord, this cancer that she's had. Lord, I pray to just help her, Lord, and I pray that it's all gone. Lord, I do pray, Lord, for Brother Yarbrough's brother-in-law, Lord, who's having this back issue and now going to rehab. And Lord, I pray that you just be with him tonight. And Lord, just give him strength, Lord, that he needs. Lord, I pray that, Lord, you just touch him. Lord, I do think about Brother Richard, Lord, with the loss of his father. Lord, I pray that you will, Lord, just be with him. And Lord, just give him, Lord, the strength, Lord, that he needs. Lord, I do pray, Lord, for Brother Fleming. Lord, he'll be getting up early. Worked all day today and get up at 1 in the morning and go back to work. Lord, I pray that you just be with him, keep him safe. Lord, I do pray, Lord, for my the funeral. Lord, for my grandmother. Lord, I do pray for my dad. Lord, as he'll be preaching. Lord, I pray that you will. Lord, just fill him with your power. Lord, just help him. Lord, just give him the words. Lord, I do pray for Danny. Lord, I pray that you just be with his health. Lord, I pray that you just touch him tonight. And Lord, I do pray, Lord, for Israel and Lord, everything that's going on over there, Lord, in Israel. And Lord, I do pray that, Lord, that you'll just give wisdom to the leaders over there. Lord, I do pray for William. And Lord, I'm so thankful that he's at home now. But Lord, I pray that you will, Lord, just help him. And Lord, just do a work, Lord, as far as his health is concerned. Lord, I do pray for the situation with Matthew. Fuller. Lord, I pray that, Lord, you just work out the details there with him. Lord, I do pray for those who will be traveling. Lord, I know especially with Thanksgiving coming up, but Lord, I know that the situation, Lord, with the fog and also this fire and the brush and here in Louisiana, Lord, is just making it difficult for people to drive. Lord, I pray that you'll be with Connor. Lord, I know he drives over that twin span each and every night. Lord, I do pray for Noah. Lord, I pray for him, Lord, and his health. And Lord, I pray that you'll just, Lord, just give him, Lord, healing. Lord, I do pray for Unspoken and Miss Gigi. Lord, I know that many of us, Lord, have different things on our heart and mind. And Lord, I just pray for her and, Lord, and the unspoken there that she has. And Lord, I do pray that, Lord, I know that many of us, so we could really spend, Lord, the next hour or so just talking and praying about different problems, and whether it's salvation for family or physical needs, and Lord, just a lot of different needs. And Lord, I do pray that you will, Lord, just help us, Lord, and just give us wisdom. Be with our church. Lord, continue to lead and direct our church. And Lord, I pray that you just do a work in Jesus' name. Amen. I prayed for Brother Mike, but I didn't mention Brother Mike. He is sick. That's where he's at tonight. And so keep him in your prayers. I know that he'd appreciate that very much. Hey, everybody, was Proverbs. Proverbs chapter number 18. Look, I'm not sure how a lot of churches do things. Before I came here to Community, I was at my dad's church for 38 years, and I went to college at Tri-State and Bethel, and Brother Westmoreland operated the same way that my dad operates. And so I don't know how a lot of churches do a lot of things, and going to this building program, I'm not sure how everybody else does things. I just know what I'm used to, and I just know what I'm used to, and so I don't want to overstep any boundaries. But like a while ago, I mentioned hymn books, and just kind of order new hymn books. I'm saying all that to say, if anybody wants to be involved in anything, you need to let me know, because I'm just not going to probably bring a lot of stuff to a vote, because I think that it just can cause problems and stuff like that. And but the hymn books, you're going to love the hymn books, and you're going to love the chairs, and of course, I'll talk to Brother Mike and Brother Duffy, and Brother Jonathan's going to be helping out with a lot of that stuff. And so anyway, I'm not sure how a lot of churches do a lot of those things, and I do know that Satan likes to get involved, and he likes to, wants to try to tear things apart. And I just know this: I just want it to be really nice. I want it to get done as quick as possible, and I want to be able to come in and preach and have a microphone and you can hear me, and have you sitting in nice cushioned chairs. And but I am going to have these things installed in the back of the chairs, like a little spring, and I'm going to have them numbered. And if you start falling asleep, I'm going to hit it, and it's going to jolt you, and it's going to wake you up, and some electricity, and it'll wake you up. And so, but anyway, so but I will say this: I'm excited. I probably don't show it enough at how excited I am about everything, but I really am, and just looking forward to having the space and these classrooms and a nursery, and it's going to just be good, and so I'm excited about that. But anyway, so if you want to be involved, please, let me know. And Clint is helping me, and he's involved, and I know everybody's busy. I know everybody's got 10 million things going on, and so I don't want to bug any of y'all. And and so if we can just get it done, and without having to bug everybody, I just kind of like to do it that way, and that'll just take a lot off of y'all, so you don't have to worry about it. So I'll answer any questions except for Miss Sydney, because she's the only one that I'm scared of. And so anyway, Miss Sydney. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. They're going to be blue and orange. the helm the pews would be the chairs would be blue and the hymn books are going to be orange, and so it looked really good colors, and so excited. No, I'm picking on Miss Cindy. I'm picking on. Oh, they probably don't, but they should. They should make orange hymn books. They should, and they put a big gator emblem on the back. That's what they should do. So, but anyway, yeah, no, they won't be orange and blue. Probably like grayish color. I wouldn't mind gold. I think gold's a pretty color. Gold and gold. I don't want it to look like the 1970s, and I don't want it to look, like we're stuck in the 60s. And no disrespect, but I do want it to look very nice and modern, up to date. You know what I'm saying? So, no, it don't cut you out. I know. But I'm just quoting Brother Jonathan Wells. And so I'm just quoting him. So get mad at Brother Jonathan. So, but anyway, I'm excited. And looking forward to everything. So anyway, Proverbs 18. I like preaching and teaching, and that's what I like to do. And buildings and all that is, I'm not gonna. A lot of it doesn't matter to me, to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind purple and gold, to be honest with you. That's a good color. Purple. Like, I know it's LSU Tiger color. That's beautiful colors, purple and gold. Maroon and white's nice. That's a good color. Crimson and white's good. Black and gold's good. Those are all good colors. And so, but it's exciting. Proverbs 18. Look at verse number 1. Through desire a man hath separated himself, seeketh and intermeddleth with all wisdom. A fool hath no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. When the wicked cometh, then cometh also contempt, and with ignominy reproach. The words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. I'm going to stop right there, and we'll kind of hit several key verses here in Proverbs 18. And Proverbs 17 was really loaded, last week. And one of my favorite verses is verse 22, talking about a merry heart doth good like a medicine. And I think that's a really good verse. And I think that people are to, as I said last Wednesday night, and I wasn't kidding. And, I think some people will do them good to go buy a joke book. And today I was at Barnes & Noble's and had to meet a guy there. And I walked over to they have a humor section. And I pulled a joke book off. I had a few minutes, and I pulled a joke book off the counter, read a couple of jokes, and I might try to use them later on. But I think it's good. I think it's good to laugh. I think it's good to read some jokes. And I wish that there was some really good, comedy things that you could go to around here, and just have like some really good, comedy, and I like those kind of things, where you sit down and you have a meal and you listen to a guy get up and tell jokes. And I like one of my favorite preachers, at one time, he's one of my favorite preachers to this day, Mike Gray. That guy, he's crazy. He's a nut. And I love Mike Gray, but he is probably one of the funniest preachers. He's the kind of guy that'll have you rolling, crying, and at the altar confessing before God all at the same time. That's the kind of man he is. And he is awesome. He's the one that went alligator hunting with my dad. And I've been alligator hunting with Mike Gray too. But he went alligator hunting with my dad, and he killed these alligators here in Louisiana. And Mike Gray told my dad, he said, "Here, video." And so Mike Gray grabs this alligator, and he throws the alligator in the water, and he jumps on top of the alligator like he's wrestling this big alligator in the ocean. That's the kind of man that Mike Gray is. And he's just an awesome guy. But I think verse number 22 would really help a lot of people. A merry heart doth good like a medicine. Like a medicine. It's like a medicine. And I think, now I'm not a doctor, so I'm giving you this is Dan opinion. So don't go home and throw your medicine away and buy a joke book, right? Listen to your doctor. But I think a lot of people can be helped if they would learn to read some jokes and laugh a little bit. It'll help you, because he tells you, what does he tell you in that same verse? He says, "But a broken spirit drieth the bones." Drieth the bones. And health is in the blood, and health is in those bones, and you don't want your bones to become all dry and withered up. And but that's why it's important to laugh. and enjoy life. Someone said that I laugh and I cut up too much, whenever I preach in that church. Well, this is the only place I get to go, and cut up and have fun. I have fun at church. I enjoy it. And I didn't come here to spend an hour up here. Serving God is fun. Serving God's fun. Going to church is fun. We got about 10,000 people here tonight, and I enjoy it. I enjoy hanging out with God's people and spending time with the Lord. I want my children to see me have fun. I don't want my children to think, well, going to church, I got to go down into that church. That church down there is no fun, and I want them to have fun when they come to church. That's why I like them having their own teen class. And so they're not sitting here listening to me, but they can go to teen class, and they'll have games, and they can have fun, and it's just good for them. It's good for the teens, and it's even good for the children. But we need to understand that a merry heart doth good like a medicine. It'll help you. It'll help you. But anyway, back to verse number 8, chapter 18. Through desire a man have separated himself, seeketh and intermeddleth with all wisdom. There's so much there in that verse, and I just want to draw your attention to having separated. Having separated in that verse. Sometimes it is good. Sometimes it is good to separate yourself. And now don't live on an island. There was this one particular man. He's a good friend. He's still a good friend to this day. But I would always know, and I would talk to him every single day. And I would always know that whenever he was having a hard time, because he wouldn't call me or text me. And if he didn't call me or text me by like 9 o'clock in the morning, I knew something was wrong, because we talked every single day. And there was reasons why we talked every single day. And sometimes he would get on the island. And I would call him and he wouldn't answer. And I would text and he wouldn't respond. And he would get on the island. He want to be isolated. Listen, I believe in insulation, but I don't believe in isolation. There's a major difference. And so many people, listen, I think we need to insulate our children from the world, but you're not going to be able to isolate them from the world. Same way with the church. We're not going to isolate ourselves, from the church. Like, we're just going to build, what we're going to do is, it's going to be really nice, but we're not building a museum. We're building a church. It's a hospital where people can come and get help. And I believe in insulation, not isolation. And the same way with our children. I believe that we are to insulate them. I believe that we are to protect them. But at the same time, they're going to grow up. They're going to probably go to college or go get married and move out of your house. And it's important that we have trained them and taught them and insulated them so they know when they go out into the world, they know what to do. But coming back to having separated, sometimes it is good to separate yourself for a short amount of time. Number one, so you can get with God. You can get with God. Sometimes it's good to separate yourself from food. Sorry, Miss Cindy. And I had to mention food. Separating yourself from food and fasting. And fasting. Let me ask you a question. Don't answer it out loud. Just answer it in your heart. Have you ever fasted? Fasted. And food is not the only thing you can fast from. There are several things that you can fast from. I've seen some guys take a hunting fast, but they didn't go hunting for a year. I don't recommend that. I think you ought to, if you're going to do that, take a fast in the summer. Don't go hunting in the summer. And hunt season is not in the summer. It's only hunting during the winter. It's a fast, fast from hunting. But I've got some preacher friends, some friends of mine, that really, they'll take a fast from hunting. They'll say, this year I'm not going to hunt. And instead of hunting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend that time in the Word. I'm going to spend that time in prayer. I've got a good friend of mine who he really wasn't a good friend. That's not true, but he was a friend, and he was a pastor. He was much older than me, but he was also a professional fisherman. And he would take a season where he wouldn't go fishing, and he would use that time in the Word and in prayer. Some people fast from food, where they say, you know what, I'm not going to eat for a certain amount of time. I'm not going to eat breakfast, supper, and lunch. Or I'm not going to eat lunch, breakfast, or lunch, or dinner, or supper, and breakfast, and lunch. And I'm going to fast. And during that time, instead of eating, I'm going to spend time with God. And there's a ministry, and I don't know the man's name, but he's got a lot of people that do this every single day. They'll take 10 minutes from their lunch break, and they'll pray for America. And that's what they do. And a lot of people will take their whole lunch break. They'll take 30 minutes or an hour and pray. And that's good. To separate yourself for a period of time, to where I'm going to spend this time in prayer and fasting. Jesus did it, did he not? Yes. He separated himself for like 40 days. Remember that? 40 days and nights where he spent time in prayer. And then right after he come down, what happened? Y'all remember? Satan tempted him. Remember, Satan came and tempted him, and he took him up and he said, listen, if you'll worship me, I'll give you all this. I'll give you all this. See, it already belonged to God anyway. But Satan was, I'll give you all if you'll worship me. Remember what he said? Turn these rocks into bread. Could Jesus have turned those rocks into bread? Absolutely. You'd have thought you was at Lambert's, and those rolls would have been so good. And he could have turned those rocks into rolls and made honey butter appear and made a microwave appear. Or he could have done whatever he wanted. He was God manifest in the flesh. He absolutely could have turned those, but he didn't. Why? Because he was tempted by Satan. And if Jesus knew the importance of separating himself for a time, it's important for you and I to separate ourselves for a time. It's important for a husband and wife to separate themselves for a time. It's good for a husband and wife to get away together and to spend time together away from their children. We have 5 children, as you all know, and sometimes it's good to separate. Sometimes Mama needs a break. Sometimes she needs to go to Starbucks and get her a cup of coffee without the kids and without you. Sometimes she needs to separate from you and for an hour or two. But it's good to do that for a husband and wife, to have that time to where they separate and they just spend time together for 24 hours where they're just them, and they go to dinner and they just enjoy, maybe go to dinner and maybe catch a movie or something like that, and they just enjoy their time together. Of course, I'm picking. I like to mess around a little bit, probably too much, but anyway, have that time together. Jackie and I, we're coming up on a time where we're fixing to go spend. We were going to go this weekend and spend 24 hours, but the funeral is Saturday, so we're going to wait, and we got Equipment's birthday party, and so we're going to wait another week or two. But it's important to separate yourself. Can I ask you a question? Think about this in your mind. When's the last time you separated yourself and you spent time with just you and God? Just you and God. Where you was on your knees or on your prayer. You know what? I'm going to separate from this. I really like doing this. Whatever your hobby is, and I really like this. And I'm going to separate, and instead of doing this, I'm going to spend time with God. And I'm going to spend time with prayer. I think it's important. I think it's important sometimes to separate yourself and pray. I think sometimes it's important to separate yourself and to think. To just think. Your mind ever just get really foggy? Just really foggy? And it's good to just go sit somewhere. For me, my porch is a perfect place. Go sit on my porch, sit in my rocking chair, glass of sweet tea, and just think. It's quiet. I can hear them cows out there mooing, and just sit there, and there's nothing better than that. Separating yourself to spend time with God, separating yourself to spend time with your spouse, separating yourself to spend time just thinking and planning and thinking about the future. I can't tell you how much time I have sat on my porch and just thought about the church and the building and just planning it out in my mind and things of that nature and just separating ourselves. And I think it's important that you do that. Verse number 2, a fool had no delight in understanding. One thing that Proverbs talks about a lot is a fool. Right? A fool. And I don't want to be a fool. I don't want to be a fool. And the Bible tells us so much about a fool, but one thing he says here is that a fool had no delight in understanding. A fool doesn't want to learn anything. A fool's not going to be quiet. A fool is going to be someone that's not going to listen. They're not going to pay attention. They're not going to delight in understanding. A fool is someone, and we all meet these people, they know everything. Right? I mean, they know everything. And you can't tell them anything because they already know it. And they've already done it, and they already know it. And that's just, it's a fool in a lot of cases. And it's important that we understand, because I don't want to become a fool. I want to continue to learn and continue to get understanding. And what Shannon Foote taught on Sunday night, he gave a lot of information, in 45, 50 minutes. And he really needs about 4 hours, and he could really take you, into all of that, especially about the language. And the language is one of the key things there. But I just like what one guy said to me. One time we were talking about it and talking about the language and talking about, the preservation and how God used, different men and how to preserve His Word, and talked about the inspiration, and we talked about all these things. And finally, at the end, the other guy just looked at me and said, "You know what? At the end of the day, this is a miracle book. It's a miracle book. It's a miracle, that we have the Word of God." But what you want to think about is this: everything that God does, it's a miracle. Just look at His creation. Look at the world. Look at the planets. I mean, who else could have done that but God? Look at the human body. Who else could have done that but God? Look at the animals. Who else could have done that but God? You're talking about God created animals that live only in the water. He created animals that live only on land. And then He created animals that can do both, that can live on water and live on land. Then He created some animals that they live in the water, but they got to come up for air. They got to come out and blow out of this hole. And He's got all these different creations out there. Have y'all read about that new spider? They've got a new spider that just migrated into North Carolina and is headed this way. And they said it will only attack you if you if you corner it, but it doesn't bite humans or animals. So anyway, there's a spider on its way, and it's come. I have no clue. You can read about it, Google it, and read about it. And so, but anyway, I just think about all those spiders. They're a miracle. I mean, all them animals, they're a miracle. I mean, all of that stuff, that's a miracle, and only God could do it. And then you get to His Word. Satan's trying to do it, ain't he? He's trying. Oh man, he's trying to get everybody to believe evolution. That all this happened through evolution. He's trying to clone humans. They're trying to make robots. Man, they got these AIs that you think they are humans, but they're not, and they're just computer generated. And you have all of these different things that Satan is. And I'm not saying Satan is doing AI. I think man's doing that, but a lot of this other stuff with terms of cloning, and when it comes to evolution, when it comes to different versions of the Bible. But then you look at the King James Bible. It's a miracle. It's a miracle where you had these, kings, and obviously just all of it is amazing whenever you just look at what God did. And then you look at birth, a birth of a baby. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. And then to see what Ohio voted on yesterday, it's just unbelievable that they would vote 56.2% of their people to legalize abortion in Ohio. It's unbelievable that anybody would be for, killing a baby. That is just sickening to me. I don't like to call it abortion. It's murder. And you're murdering that life, that baby. Last night, I was talking to an individual, and he said to me, I don't want anybody to tell my daughter what she can or can't do with her body. I said, sir, that argument is about as the most ridiculous argument that I've ever heard when it comes to abortion, because that little baby inside your daughter's stomach is not your daughter's baby, or is not your daughter's body. That's a separate body. That's a separate body. And then when Jackie had 5 children, she's actually had more than that, but she's had 5 children inside of her that she gave birth to, and each one of those children was their own body. Quiven had his own brain, his own arms, his own legs. I mean, he had his own body. And then for people to vote, that you can murder those babies is mind-boggling. And so, but anyway, and that happened in Ohio. It's supposed to be a conservative state, and they voted to legalize marijuana. Unbelievable. But anyway, I said all that to say I have no idea where I was at with all that, except a fool. Only a fool will want to murder babies. Only a fool. They just don't understand. They don't understand the body. They don't understand the baby inside of the body, inside of the mama's body. A fool will say that we don't have a copy of the preserved, inspired Word of God because they don't understand. They just don't understand. A fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Why? Because they don't understand that there is a God. There is a God. Someone said there's no atheists in foxholes. I mean, all them boys in those foxholes are praying. They might have been an atheist before they got there. But in that foxhole, there's no atheist. Let's keep reading in verse number 3. And I got sidetracked, I'm sorry. When the wicked cometh, then cometh also contempt, and with ignominy a reproach. The words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. Also in Proverbs, it talks a lot about our words. It talks a lot about things that we say, and things that we say, our words. Look at Proverbs 16, verse number 1. The preparations of the heart of man and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. Proverbs 15, verse number 1. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise useth knowledge. I mean, it talks a lot about our words and things that we say. And things that we say and our words affects people. It affects people. And not just your words and things you say, but how you say them. It affects people. And so we got to understand that our words, it can cut people deep. Even, you ever have children, you just give them that look? I mean, you can give them a look, and they know that they're in trouble. You know, my mama can give me a look, back when I was younger, and I knew that I was in trouble. And there was words, and we got to be careful the words that we use and the tone that we use, especially dealing with our children, but even dealing with somebody else's children. I try to be very careful at what I say to your children, and other people's children. That my words and my tone and things that I say, I don't want to come across mean, right? I don't want to come across hateful. I don't want to come across that way, and so I try to choose my words carefully. And here in Proverbs, he's telling us the words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. I mean, there's so much there in that verse. But one thing that I want to mention in that verse is that our words can cut people very deep. The Bible talks about how a brother offended is harder to win back than a city that has strong walls around it. And I didn't quote the verse word for word, but that's basically what the verse is saying. That if you offend a brother, and how often or how do we offend our brother or sister? Our words. Our words. We can offend them that way very easily. Things that we say, we can offend them. We have to be careful when we're preaching. I try to be careful at the words that I use, and sometimes I might say something that I shouldn't say, but I have to be careful with my words. I have to be careful in the tone of my words. When you're teaching a Sunday school class, you have to be careful, with your words, the tone of your words and things that you say. You just have to be careful because your words can cut people. I don't want my words to cut people. I know that they have before. I know that my words have. And I don't want it to be that way. And so we just got to be real careful in that. But our words can bring life. Our words can bring life. He tells us in the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook, your words can bring about life. You think about that water and having a brook. We were digging a pond at our house, and Brother Miss Crane wanted a pond. And so we brought these guys in to dig this pond. And they were out there digging this pond, and it still doesn't have water in it. And it's just a big hole is all it is. It's a big hole out in the middle of the front yard, and there's no water in it. And I was hoping that it'll hit a spring, but there's no spring underneath it. If you're driving down Interstate 10 and you get close to Canal Road, and if you, Beatline Road, if you get off on Beatline Road, so if you're driving toward Gulfport on Interstate 10 and you're coming to Beatline Road, get off on Beatline County Farm, go south. There's a little gas station right there on the right. There's a dirt road that runs right alongside that gas station. Take a right on that dirt road. If you drive down that dirt road about 2 minutes, you're going to see a huge 20-acre lake right there on the left of this dirt road. It has some great fish in there, good bass, good catfish. Back when they brought Interstate 10 through there, they was digging out that in order to put dirt for the interstate. They had dump trucks in there. They had those bulldozers in there. They had those things that have the big one to go out and pick up excavator. They had all these kind of big machines in there. Well, when they were digging, they hit a spring. Water filled up so fast in that lake that to this day there are still those machines down there. That's how quick those springs flowed up. It filled it up. And they didn't have time to get everything out of there. And so, but a spring brings life. I think about that spring and how now it's got a lake there. And they got catfish in that spring. They got brim in that spring. They have snakes in that pond. They have alligators in that pond. They had a lot of life in that pond. They got bass in that pond. I've caught a lot of bass, a lot of catfish, a lot of brim out of that pond. And it's got a lot of fish in it. My point is that wellspring brought life. And that's what our words are to do. Our words are to bring life. You ever see somebody and they look like they're just having a bad day? And then it's your words. Things you can say to them can kind of spring them, give them a little life. I could be having a bad day, and you let one of my little girls come running up and give Daddy a hug and a kiss and say, Daddy, I love you. We're having a good day all of a sudden. You know, that words brought life. It brought life. And that's how we are to want our words to do. We should want our words to be like a wellspring, like that water that brings life. You ever been working outside and you get all hot and sweaty, you feel like you're about to pass out, and somebody brings you a glass of water, and you drink it. You know what that water does? It brings life, is what it does. That's how our words are to be. Our words are to bring life. Sweet tea from Cane's brings life. It's mostly water, though, is what that is. But it brings life. And that's how our words are to be. The words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as a flowing brook. I want my words to be like water on a hot day, not vinegar. You ever drink vinegar? Well, I never have. But it stinks. I've smelled it to know that I don't want to drink it. And then they got this other stuff, this cranberry juice. I'm like, ugh. I don't want to drink cranberry juice. I don't even like drinking orange juice. And I want to drink red top milk with Nesquik in it. But anyway, my point is, I don't want my words to be like vinegar. I want my words to bring life. Can I ask you a question? Don't answer it out loud. Are your words like vinegar? Or is your words like water? How about it to your husband or your wife? How about to your children? How about to your friends and family? How about our words on Facebook? Ooh, that convicts me. Our words on Facebook. Words. Do they bring life? Come on, the Word. He brought life. The Word. He became flesh and dwelt among us. His Word brought life. And now we can have it more abundantly. That's how our words are to bring life. Everywhere Jesus went, man, everywhere He went, He was bringing life. I give you water that you never thirst again. How? From my words. His words. Well, our words are to bring life. Can I ask you a question? Is your words like vinegar? Vinegar? You ever drink, boy, I'm telling you, what's worse than cranberry juice is sour milk. And that is so nasty. And this is something how I am. This is why I don't drink. So like if the date on milk is October 21st, at my house it generally never even gets close to the 21st. But if it's like the 20th, I won't even drink it. I don't take the chance. I'm not going to smell it, but I'm not even going to drink it. I'm just going to dump it down the sink. My point is, reason is because I have drank sour milk before, and it is so nasty. Some people remind me of sour milk. When Jesus was on the cross, what did they give him to drink? Somebody's words. I want my words to be like water. Everybody good? Let's keep reading, and we'll be done early tonight. It is not good to accept the person of the wicked, to overthrow the righteous in judgment. Let's jump down to verse number 22, or verse number 19, and because I did quote this verse earlier. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. That's whenever you offend somebody, and then you're going to try to win them back, and they're like bars of a castle. Like they don't even want to talk to you. And if you're not careful, I remember I was a youth pastor. I'll never forget. I was a youth pastor. I was up preaching, and there was a kid out there, and I was young and wasn't very smart, and I was up there preaching hellfire and damnation, and I offended that kid. I know that I did because I said some things when I was preaching. I offended him, and I tried to win him back. I spent several years trying to win that kid back. I think I finally did because we get along great today, but it took me years to win him back. I didn't win him back while he was a teenager. It was not until he was an adult that I was able, I think, to possibly win him back. But if we're not careful, we'll do the same thing. People that we go to church with, especially when it comes to these children. And I just can't stress enough, that we got to be careful with these children and teaching or preaching. We just got to be careful. And then he says, verse number 20, a man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips shall he be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. The Bible has a lot to say about our words. People just want to overskip it. Well, I just speak my mind. The Bible says you're a fool. I didn't say you was a fool. God did. I didn't say you shouldn't speak all your mind. God did. I didn't say that you need to be careful with your words. God did. Well, that's my wife. I can say whatever I want to her. Really? That's my husband. I can treat him however I want to. Really? Those are my children. I can say whatever I want. Well, you can, but you'll lose them. You can say whatever you want, but you'll lose them. I've heard some preachers get up and preach, and I'm like, Lord have mercy, I wouldn't go to that church. That guy's mean. He said, no, I'm just hard. I told one guy one time, we was having lunch, then there's a bunch of preachers sitting there, and I just kind of sometimes, I'm trying to learn my words, and I was sitting there, this guy said, I'm a hardcore, I'm just a hard preacher. I said, no, you're not, brother. I said, you're mean. There's a difference between hard preaching and mean preaching. You're just mean. You're a jerk. It's no ifs, ands, buts about it. You're just a jerk. And that's the truth. Anyway, I said it in love and had a smile on my face. And everybody else was like, you're right. Verse number 22. I like this verse. Whoso findeth a wife, findeth a good thing, and obtaineth favor of the Lord. Findeth. I don't have time to jump into this, but you know what that means? Davis, you need to be looking for a wife. But he's got to be looking. He's got to be looking. Somebody told me one time before I met Jackie, they said, Brother Dan, you just need to go to sleep and let God bring you your wife like he did Adam. I said, there's just two things wrong with that. I said, number one, I ain't Adam. Number one. And number two, God literally had to put him to sleep to make him a woman because there was nobody else in this world. It was just Adam. But isn't it good to be married to you married men and women in here? Isn't it good to be married? And whoso findeth the wife findeth a good thing. You ought to just thank the Lord for your spouse. Thank the Lord for the one that God gave you. I'm not going to say that. We'll just be done for tonight. Everybody okay tonight? All hearts and minds clear? Any questions about anything that we covered that's not church building related? You what? I might be a rookie pastor, but I ain't stupid. I'm a rookie. I know. I'm young. I got a lot to learn. I'm trying to learn. Some of you got more to learn than others. All right, everybody good? Brother Jonathan, won't you dismiss us in prayer?